Hey everyone, welcome back. Sergeant Eaters here with the Wyoming National Guard Counter Drug Program. So today I want to pose a question about addiction. What if everything we knew about addiction was actually wrong or different from what we thought it was? So you see, I would say that most people would say that the addiction is related to the drug, but what if that was wrong or different from what we thought? So if we take a step back and a 50,000 foot view down, what might actually be the real causes if we critically think on why there is substance misuse? I'll pose another question to you. What if the drug is really related to the environment of which people are in? Now let's talk about one of the most important and ignored studies ever talking about rat park. So let's make a basic understanding of how this experiment started. So the experiment started with this simple cage where rats would have two options of water. There'd be regular water and drug water, but there'd be nothing else in the cage. So let's draw that up real quick. Now, please excuse the handwriting. So, as you can imagine, there's really only one way this was going to go down. What the rats would do is, as they had nothing else to do in the cage, they would eventually use the substance water. And as they became substance abusers, they ended up overdosing and dying from the drug water. So, obviously, this led to the assumption that drugs were highly addictive and that even rats would potentially overdose and die from substance abuse. Now, again, don't forget when we're doing this experiment, we're blaming the drug for being the reason of why there was a substance abuse problem. But like all good science, eventually there's more to come. And Bruce Alexander happened to walk by and walk upon this experiment. When Bruce was looking at the experiment, he easily identified that, hey, what if there's more to this experiment than just regular water or drug water? What if there's an actual environment and an ecosystem where these rats could potentially thrive? So when Mr. Alexander went there, he looked at the experiment and thought, maybe this cage is really messed up. What could we add to it in order to create a more efficient, effective life for these rats? So the big question for Mr. Alexander became, what if the problem isn't the rats, but it's actually the cage that the rats are in? So from there, they were able to further the experiment and add things such as food, and then from there, they were able to add things such as housing, tunnels, exercise equipment, and all those good things to help keep the rats busy and living a healthy lifestyle. And then lastly, they added other rats so that way they could build families, communities, and have a social life as well. Now I know I can't draw rats, so please excuse the cat. They did not put cats in there, but you get the idea. So the important thing to get is the experiment is set up now. Now they put in the same regular water and drug water and let the rats choose whatever they wanted to do. Now, my question to you is, what do you think happened from this experiment? All right, so now while you're thinking about that, I need you to remember that the rats have family and social structure, they have habitat where they can move around, they have a stimulating environment, and they have everything that any animal would need to survive and have a good, healthy lifestyle. That being said, I think it's also important to remember that they took rats that were from the other cage that had just the drug water and regular water and actually put them into the rat park experiment as well to see what would happen. So, as you can see, basically the experiment went well. Rat park was a success. The rats lived happy, healthy lives and rarely ever used the drug water, if at all. So, really, what this all was to do is to get your critical thinking started because we want you to use this example of Rat Park for future videos related to the different topics we get into and how someone might be able to look at the environment and see what can be plugged in and played where and how it can be done correctly and how by putting in the wrong thing it might actually do an inverse effect and create a bigger problem than what we originally intended to do. So I think what this experiment says is, why are people misusing substances? Is it the substance's fault, or is it more related to the environment and other external factors as well that are in play related to substance misuse? And most importantly, it's important to remember, how does the things from Rat Park relate to what we're doing as prevention specialists out there in the field? Now I have two more things to leave you with. One is Vietnam veterans, and the other is children in their environment. So, related to the Vietnam War, there was a bunch of veterans who became drug users over in Vietnam. And the military thought there's going to be a huge problem when they get back to the United States. Now, what did the military do? They ended up tracking these soldiers from Vietnam, following them back to America. When these veterans were back in America, They went back to their homes. They received almost no treatment, and scientists decided to go back out to their communities where they were living and see how things were going. What the scientists found out when they came back was kind of astonishing. When they looked at these individuals that were substance abusers over in Vietnam, they found out that most of them, when they came back to a proper environment where they had critical roles, basically were able to quit with no additional supplementation or anything related to helping them get out of a substance abuse problem. Now, they were able to apply the Rat Park study to children as well. They found out that children with stable homes, positive peer groups, purpose and belonging, and positive role models made it to where they were way less likely to abuse substances or even use substances in the future. Now, they were able to actually apply the Rat Park study to children as well. They found out that children with stable homes, positive peer groups, purpose and belonging, and role models were actually significantly less likely to use substances in the future. Now, it's not just about teaching kids how to say no and when to say no. It's really about creating an environment where kids are going to be able to go out there and thrive. And the best thing about it is you get to find out more on how to make the environment better for kids when we talk about P values in the next episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment what you would like us to go over related to prevention.